Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Committee of the Whole meeting on December 6th, 2022. There's just one amendment to our agenda that was published, and that was to include gallery open forum underneath councillor open forum. Otherwise, we got a pretty hefty agenda, so we'll just get moving. If I can have a motion to adopt the agenda as amended, please.
I'll make a motion to adopt the agenda as amended.
You can second that.
Thank you, Councillor Hampshire, and thank you, Councillor Paquette. All in favor? Carried. A motion to adopt the draft minutes from the regular meeting of November 15th, 2022.
I'll make a motion to adopt draft minutes from November 15th, 2022.
You, Councillor Burden.
Second.
Councillor Hampshire. Questions or comments?
No.
Thank you.
Thank you. I just noticed the spelling.
Okay, so did I.
Under delegation. It says chef administrative officers. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion to pay the open payables in the amount of $263,369.69.
I'll make a motion to pay the open payables.
Thank you, Councillor Hunter.
And it,
Thank you, Councillor Paquette. Any questions, comments?
And for me. Thank you.
oh. Oops. Give me a second.
What was check number 60881?
608, Arc Rate Northern, that's the first progress report on the change room upgrades at the rec center.
And this canceled Flatwater North.
Yes, so for some reason, there's a couple that show similar to that. So what those are, they were stale data checks that were brought back in, canceled, reissued is what happened there.
Okay.
There's a whole bunch of stale dated. Shannon has been going through in prep for year end.
Yep.
She's been going through and reconciling all the checks that haven't been cashed through the year. So there's a whole row of them there that are stale dated that she had to reissue.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions?
Is that like an obligation? Like if they didn't cash or deposit the check, like, is that not them problem?
It is, but as a corporate citizen, we reach out to them to see if they.
And I know, and I'm sure that's like the right thing to do, but I just feel like
And not only that, but it.
Some checks to work on our end.
It's a real accounting nightmare for us with the auditors,
Mhm.
for them outstanding.
Okay, anyway, thank you.
All in favor?
Yeah.
Carried. Next on our agenda is CRCMP, Mike. Oh, hi.
How's everybody tonight?
Oh, you know.
Good, so,
Hi.
Good. I'll just pass those around. So I got an email from Tiffany asking about, the monthly merit report for November, actually. A plan moving forward for the new year and kind of where we're at. So, if you guys all have copies. So the first page, this is showing monthly statistics from this year, this past November as opposed to 2021. If we get to the bottom of that page, you'll see total complaints year to date. And then if you compare that to month to date for 21 and then total for 2021. So there's a big drastic change, almost half the calls for service. The explanation for that, there is no real explanation for it. What we are seeing is when we're down manpower, the proactive single highway patrol and things of that nature, we're obviously not going to take precedent as opposed to basically responding to your call for service. So Yeah, this time last year, I went actually looked into if they had 3 relief members in last year, November, for whatever reason, I wasn't here, I can't say to that's why or what the reasoning was for, but I know right now we're at 6, so simple math is they had 9 members for the month of November last year, as opposed to 6 members this year. A lot of variables will come in. Right now for November, we had 3 members away for Horse and White Horse. And it all is going to come down to just manning. I know someone else here can speak to it, but when you're dealing with 1 day shift member, 1 night shift member, there's not a lot of proactive policing or not a high rate of patrols because you have to be able to respond. So that's going to be that. However, if you look at criminal charges laid, it's very similar. And since my time here, since October 11th, we're starting to see a promising trend to call it consistency with regards to membership and regards to not having 3 people away on leave at a time. That's problematic. There's now stuff that's come down from district. We're going to have 2 members out of the community at once at any given time. On the next page, or the last page there, this kind of a little event. So Gordon Cropper, he is going to be the new sergeant coming into Watson Lake. He will be here. It will be his first day of work is January 16th. Until that time, I'll fill his position until he arrives. He comes originally in Fort Nelson for a while. He's coming from Depot. He'll take over the CYC position. Don't know him personally. For most kids around, seems like a pretty good person. Can't really say much. I haven't met him. So. Speak in return. Bad thing to do. Moving forward, in the new year, we're going to see something with regards to restorative justice and motor vehicle. So this is going to be a little bit of an interesting thing. So presume that most people are aware of restorative justice, what it does and how it eliminates court cases and people enter into restorative. So they've now introduced this with the Motor Vehicle Act. In Whitehorse, they did a pilot project. It will be coming to Watson Lake in February. That's when they seem to have thinking that they're going to have everything online. Pilot project they ran for 2 weekends in Whitehorse. They had 39 offenders, 31 of them immediately entered into restorative justice. So what that means is if they complete their restorative justice process, their name will be included in the PROS file, but there will be nothing else saying that they potentially were speeding 90 kilometers over the speed limit. So it's another way to, I guess, allow people to make better of their decisions. So it's only going to fall under distracted driving. It's not going to affect impaired driving or anything like that. It's going to be vehicle accident, speeding, distracted, seatbelts, things like that. That's the only way they can enter into restorative, and it's a one and done. So if somebody is caught speeding on the Alaska Highway, you say, yeah, I want to enter into restorative justice. The next time, if they are caught, they don't have an issue. So it's just kind of a way to. Pilot projects seem to be quite a success. I think if I were to get my first speeding ticket and I could enter into restorative justice, I think I'd be doing it too. So that's the big thing of it is that they do their program. It's no merit points. There's nothing of that nature. Fine. It's just restorative. The only thing is they have an annual pros.
Really fast for your first screen.
Like really. I talked to the traffic people in Whitehorse, and I don't know the reasoning behind it. We're down here, but essentially somebody could, for example, if somebody's caught doing 200 on the highway, we can impound the vehicle. We can do a whole lot of damage as it were regularly, but if it's their first offense or they have never entered into justice, as Cam said. If they complete it and there's no recollection of that event even happening, all it is their names in pros as a vehicle registered.
So everybody gets one opportunity at this restorative justice.
They remember. So
There's a line between criminal act, like a
100%. So this is strictly for motor vehicle. So if it's impaired or if it's involved in an NPI or there's basically a cause.
Yeah.
That kind of wipes it out. This is, like I said, this is your basic speed.
Distracted.
After distraction on, like, say something like speed relative to conditions, care attention, things like that. So your common everyday or review flags. So distracted driving, we just had a little bit of a blitz here. We stopped 6 cars in 52 minutes.
Oh,
So,
People on their phone.
yeah,
Huh. Is there maybe like for school zones and playgrounds, like maybe there's a different, does that restorative justice play into that?
it does.
That's kind of concerning.
Unfortunate because, obviously the danger involved in a playground zone or school zone is that much more inherent, right? You have people coming around, playing around, it's slippery, people can't stop near as well as it is in summer months, so.
Mhm.
But because that is considered part of the Motor Vehicle Act as opposed to criminal act, it's allowable for this restorative justice.
Hmm.
So they did the pilot in Whitehorse the 2nd and 3rd weekend in November. We're gonna be seeing here in the communities, this is what I've been advised in the communities come February. If it stays, I don't know, I know that we're gonna be implementing it. How long it runs for, it's kind of a, see how it goes and it's way above my.
Okay.
So,
I won't be here in February, darn.
other than that, like I said, I've been here for 2 months now, running the detachment. They've been the same 6 members. We've had relief members in and out. Some of them have had really good luck, had bad luck. Going off my VIN vehicle, and
Oh, no.
out of the hot springs. You didn't hear about
no, that sucks.
Right in the detachment area.
that? Yeah. Constable Shaw came out bowling a couple times.
Okay.
Yeah, he, his one day off, he was off our vehicles.
Oh,
There's that. But with the 6 that we have, everybody's here except for Constable Richard. He is in the transfer, I guess you'll call it the portal. He's been here for just over 2 years. So he may be, if anybody moves, he will be the first one to go. And that'll be sometime spring, summer, depending on availability that is exposed. There has been a succession plan for his replacement. Don't know where or who's coming, but that'll be 6, and then of course Jordan will be here, and then this will be 7. Still too short. With regards to being too short, our hands are tied. We don't have.
Cool.
So, until that issue is resolved, I had a conversation with Cam trying to figure out an avenue of kind of how we can get members into the community without having them live in a hotel. The members that are on administrative leave for various reasons, they're staying put until their issues.
Hmm.
So they're part of the community, whether they're loose.
Right.
Need rental properties.
Yeah, no kidding. Badly.
So that's why I reached out to Cam, just because obviously he's been in that position too.
Yeah.
I got an email today, actually when Jordan's coming, they don't even know if there's a house available for them, they're just gonna find something and see if there's a rental or something.
Jeez.
That's how bad it is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we all understand the housing situation. That's for sure.
Other than that, moving forward, Gilroy, Constable Gilroy, Brandon.
Yep.
Pat, Caitlin and Jillian and myself, you have the same crew, base crew for the next 2.5 years.
Awesome.
Pretty constant, at least it's nice and consistent. And with Jordan coming in, he'll be, so you're gonna have your core complement of 7 people for a good 2.5 years, instead of getting that
Yeah,
rotation going.
I do know.
pros and cons to that.
100%, there is pros and cons to that.
Yeah, because you're all gonna leave at once.
No, I think, I would hope that M Division has learned from that. They had a really affordable succession plan going on where people are like, hey, you've been here for 3 years, you're out. There was no planning to backfill.
Right.
And I think they've fixed that position. My first, I would hope.
Mhm.
So, we also have call her a half member. So my wife is another corporal. She started this week. She's based out of Whitehorse, but she's remote out of Watson Lake. So, she's First Nations. So she's now taken over for the first time in MDiv. She's the Indigenous liaison, does all the reconciliation. She's going to be big in First Nation recruiting and also with internal investigation.
Good.
We have a half member that we need if we need to call someone out. She's not on our books, so it's kind of a freebie for us.
That's great. Great.
That's awesome.
Now we have an unmarked vehicle too.
Good to know.
Yeah, it's a freebie, you don't even have to pay, yeah,
Excellent.
Awesome.
but yeah, it's like. There's a lot of fires that were going on. A lot of big fires going on there, so it's a work in progress.
Mhm.
So. It's not covered with blanket. So it's coming up. The crew is good.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
There's a few people that understand those fires in
Yeah.
this room, so,
Yeah, I've had a couple conversations.
yeah, but yeah.
It's good. It's definitely going in the right direction. There's cleanup from. Supervisors or NCOs or ops NCOs in past, but we're getting there. We have a full-time PSM now, obviously with Danielle. So she's had district come down twice. She's working out really well. So that also enables us to not worry about being at the detachment, worry about getting missed calls from JPs or crowd or something like that.
Yeah.
So that helps us being on the road. So we're getting there.
Yeah, she's an asset, I'm sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, thanks, Mike. We appreciate that. And
Yeah, if there's any questions.
yeah, just I was just I think I saw you yesterday, but anyways, the
2023.
2023 prerogatives
Priorities.
or priorities.
Yes.
We'd love to be a part of that. Last year, we kind of missed out with the transition of everybody leaving and
Yeah.
coming and going, but
And that's the nice thing about having this crew that's gonna be here for the entire calendar year.
Yeah.
Barring a promotion out or something of that nature.
Yeah.
And hold on to a body if you don't, but.
Yeah.
You're gonna have the same working crew, kind of reshuffle their secondary tertiary duties, so same, we're gonna have a school liaison that's constant. We're gonna have, you know, somebody who's in charge of traffic and highway act constant.
Yeah.
You know, things like that. SAR is gonna be the same things.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, if you keep us in the loop and make sure we're on the lineup for kind of those priorities.
Justice for everybody.
Yeah. Yeah, well, thank you very much.
So, thank you for guys. Have fun.
Yeah, no, it's great. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
No worries.
Thanks for coming. It's great. Wonderful. All right. Next up is CAO Lockwood with your report, please.
Report, please. It's been a busy few weeks, unfortunately not in the community, out of the community for meetings, so. We had our CAO meetings last Friday in Whitehorse, and I can announce for everybody that we're part of the Association of Yukon Communities Reciprocal Insurance Fund. We're one of the founding members, and the goal has always been to have $1 million in our reciprocal account for dealing with property damage, and to help bring down our insurance premiums as a whole. And so this year we're actually sitting at 1.1 million in the bank for our society. And I made a motion at the meeting that we suspend paying premiums for 2022. So that passed. So we're going to save ourselves, I believe, somewhere in the $5,000 mark. So any savings is a good saving. And it was one of the first years in a long time that there hadn't been any claims been made against the reciprocal. So, which is a bonus. So that was a good thing there. The other thing, we had a little incident, the landfill where First Casca was hauling scrap iron over from the mill site, and I think the guy came in a little overloaded and hot and put the jackknife their gooseneck trailer and pickup truck through the fence at the landfill. So we're dealing with insurance and then incident reports on that to get that straightened out. So if anybody comments or sees that the fence is a little in disarray, that is what occurred out there. Yeah, I forget what the trailer had on it. It was like 33,000 pounds was on the gooseneck trail coming over the hill on that snowy surface, so it shouldn't have been on the road that way.
Does DOT know about it?
I'll have to ask Dylan that question because he's dealing with the investigation on it, so. Nice part is we got the scale receipts from when we came across the scale.
Okay.
So that's going on. As you've seen in the financials, change room upgrades are progressing. The date for the change rooms to be completed is January 5th. So we'll be glad to have that project done, and that'll be off the end. The lighting project, I think they're only waiting on lights for the bowling alley. So they're a specialty light that's on back order, so it'd be nice to get that project off the list as well. The third thing is the public waste drop-off area closed. We had it out for tender for the second time. This time we received 2 bids on it. Our budgetary number for that project was $430,000. I just about fell out of my armchair at home when I opened the email on last Friday night before, because the low bid came in at 1.16 million. The next bid came in at 1.227.
Wow.
So I've notified Colliers that we're mothballing that project. And I met with operations, and I think we're gonna try and take on as much of that project as we can in-house in the spring. And then tender out like the concrete stuff ourselves instead of doing the whole project, and tender out the lighting or electrical, I should say, to try and, I'm positive we can get it done for less than the 430. So anyways, that concluded the formal side of that project. It's rather disheartening, and no local companies bid it. One company was based out of Calgary and the other company was based out of Burnaby. And some of the prices that were in there, like the one company wanted for their mob and demob, they had valued at $385,000 to mob and demob into Watson Lake. That's almost the whole price of the project. So, yeah, so some of their numbers were really bang on, and other stuff was just totally out to lunch. So anyway, so that project, as a formal project with a contractor, was done with now. So we're dealing with staffing issues like everybody else due to the bugs that are going around, and so we've been really juggling for staff. So that's moving ahead. Community Christmas dinner, December 14th at 5:30. Tiffany has it out on Facebook and I believe the website. So please spread the word, and I need council there to help serve food. So if anytime after, or if anybody can show up to help, that would be great.
Be there at 5:31.
Yeah, so we'll be, so our staff will be cooking that full day and stuff.
What day of the week is that?
That is Wednesday the 14th.
Next Wednesday.
Okay.
Yes. The other thing, on the 15th, I have an engineering firm coming in to look at the rec center. They want to quote on, or prepare a proposal for backup heat for the rec center. So they're coming in on the 15th to meet with that. And then also on the 15th, we have manager and supervisor training on the new procurement policy going on in the afternoon. So, and then we're starting on the 16th. We're going to be down. Glenn's going to be off for probably a month and a half. He's going for surgery, so I'll be covering that chair again. So, but we're going to motor ahead, and the next thing I was going to talk about is your number 6 on your agenda. So unless barring any other questions, I'm going to cut it off there.
Yeah, sounds great. I have a couple questions, but we maybe we'll get a discussion about the big expenses for that public wake drop off.
Yeah.
And a good breakdown of what you think's gonna work. Concrete, blocks.
Yep.
Whatever,
The land,
Yeah.
yeah,
land work, groundwork, who's
So-
gonna do it?
yeah, so-
What those expenses look like.
Yeah.
And can we still get funding for it?
still can, it's all covered by gas tax, and I think the springtime for us to do the dirt work ourselves is the perfect time because of the fact that we're in that in-between season. And we have all our own material and our own equipment to do it, so. I think that will go ahead, the concrete box or something that we buy locally anyways, and, the price that, the budgetary numbers from what we've got were quoted locally for concrete by the meter and for the blocks is a fragment of what was quoted in this tender.
Yeah.
So,
Sorry, I can wait if you like. Would it be Public Works doing that then?
yes,
And you have enough people for that?
we would do it in phases when we have time, like it wouldn't be, if we have other stuff going on, it would take precedent. And then we would go back to doing this when we have time, or might have one staff member just hauling stockpiling dirt.
Yeah.
Right, well, the other staff are doing other stuff.
It's not a priority, well,
Well, it is a priority, but it's not, it
Yeah.
wouldn't trump other stuff that we need to get done.
regular service.
Thank you.
Yeah. God. It's unfortunate that there's no contractors that want to take that on, but
Yeah, I was dumbfounded because we did have a couple local and two local companies in Watson pulled the tender documents, and then there was companies that away it all. So I thought, sure, and Colliers reached out to everybody that had expressed interest before. They're the ones that all wanted it out now so they could bid it and plan for next spring's work, and then none of them submitted. So it's sad.
yeah, well, it is what it is. So anyways, I think that's good for report. If anybody else has a quick question, but otherwise we'll leave it for council open forum. Good, thanks, Ken. All right, next on our agenda is district heat final report. So Cam, do you want to just
Yep.
maybe tell us what the changes were from our presentation a couple weeks ago or a month ago, I guess it would be?
Yeah, so as you were aware, Nick and Connor from Clean Energy presented to the council meeting regarding the impacts of the First Casca solar farm on district heat expansion. I went back and reviewed the report in more detail and went over it with them because they had some numbers in here where, based on their recommendation that the costs outweighed the benefit of expansion, but having reviewed the report in more detail, the impact of the municipality is probably going to be around that $100,000 a year to us. In loss of revenue from selling district heat and then having to heat the rec center ourselves on the shoulder seasons. But that number can be mitigated some more because the fact that I have the engineers looking into attaching the ice plant into district heat. So that way we can benefit from the exhaust heat that's going up the stack. You feel it.
Yeah.
That heat can actually go through a heat exchanger and heat our building.
Yeah.
So that's a benefit there. And then some of their numbers they had quoted before talked about the cost of the shoulder season, but it really, the impact wasn't on the town. Well, a little bit because we're not selling district heat, but in those shoulder seasons, but the impact is back on, let's say, the school and any of those other places, because they would have to run their own heating systems if there wasn't enough heat in the district heating system to do it. And when I spoke to them, I asked them about, would it have to be some big fancy computer building system to modulate opening valves and closing valves based on temperature. And no, it doesn't have to be. There's valves that automatic valves that close, and all they really have is a temperature probe on each side of the line. And when the temperature drops below a certain set point, the valve closes and then the building system fires up. And when district heat temperature is back up, it opens the valve and their system shuts down and they're heating on district heat. So the costs of extending district heat have probably gone up because the original quote or estimate was in the $3 million range. And the way prices are going, as you can see by the public waste drop off, I'm hesitant to even try to put a realistic number to it. But I honestly think it's feasible for us to move to the next stage in looking at district heat expansion. I think what we need to do is actually come up, expand the scope so we can actually have a planning document, so we can actually reach out to seek federal funding or funding sources to do district heat. Because when they originally in the report, they're talking $3 million, but that's town dollars to do it. And then the payback would be so far that it wouldn't make it worthwhile.
Yeah.
But if we can get Canor money or green fund money for $3 million to pay for it, that means every cent going forward would be profit to the town, right? So I think we need to get from this report, we need to get to the next to the design phase. So we know roughly how much it's going to cost, and being able to take that document and reach out to the funding sources to see if we can get approved. And if it comes back and they all say, no, we won't approve it, well, then I think that would make the decision easy for the municipality that it wouldn't be worthwhile investing money. But if we can get other funding sources to supply that money to do this project, then in my mind, it's a no-brainer to move forward.
Okay.
I was just hoping you could go back to the very first line where you were talking about the 100,000. Sorry, I just missed what you said on that. That's how much we would be lost revenue with the solar farm, is that right? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
So.
Well, revenue and cost for us to heat the rec center ourselves.
So total, so loss plus how much, okay, got you. And then, I don't disagree with you on. Sorry, were you ready for that? Ready for me to say? Okay, I don't disagree with you. I think that, if we can get the extra funding, to make that happen, like external funding to make that happen, I think that that's 100% worthwhile. If we have to pay for it, like you said, I think that's a different situation entirely. There are some recommendations in this report. And I'm wondering if we have any plans to look at any of those recommendations as well, because one of them, like the first one, for example, is to actually renegotiate the amount that we're even being paid for the stuff that we're currently being paid for.
Yeah.
Based on the savings that the YG is getting. Out of school. So is that something that we're also looking at?
Yes, I have the agreement open. There's clauses in there as to when we can negotiate and stuff. So we're working on that right now as we go. Actually, I'll just go to the recommendations page and I can maybe go through them if you wish, your worship.
Sure.
Okay, so yeah, first recommendation was to revisit the cost structure for the sale of district heat to the elementary or to the high school. And that is currently underway. In recommendation 2 is install a heating system in the rec center, which goes forward to where I spoke earlier, the 15th, and also Clean Energy have also given me a proposal for the same work. So I'm waiting to see how the prices compare, and investigate heat supplementation mitigation options. So that talks about what we can do to offset when those generators are running. And truthfully, based on some of the history on the way First Casca is finishing some of their projects. This might not happen for 5 years if it even happens. So they've been working on this project for 3 years now and they still haven't even turned the shovel out there. So, and recommendation for implement other, district energy upgrades. So we are investigating the costs of doing, like installing, variable frequency drives. Actually, and then the next one is corrosion mitigation. It's actually was in the 2022 capital budget and it's been rolled over to 2023 because ATCO wasn't able to get a contractor to come up. And we were going to tag team off that. So that money's been rolled over to 2023 capital budget because it was gas tax. So it's being gas tax, we have to roll it over to the new budget. We can't just carry it forward. Reform our piping flush. That's all part of that $250,000 that was in the budget already. And then the other one is add control valves, increase ATCO system temperature. Those are things that we have to work with ATCO on, and right now we're waiting on our lawyers to finish reviewing the new MOU with ATCO before any of that side of work on their side of the house would take place. Okay. It's all covered under gas tax. It's all stuff that we've been dealing with. It just didn't come to fruition this year. So I hope that answers your question.
Yes, thank you. So,
And your worship, so if council accepts final draft, the final report, then we're able to make it available to the public.
And that was gonna just be my comment, is that if administration is comfortable with all the facts and figures in here and the due diligence has been done, that we can provide it to the public for feedback, that'd be perfect.
Yes, I just want to caution because my farm boy math, when I looked at the report, I went on table, I think it was table 2, it really had me scratching my head because it tells you how much power, how many kilowatts ATCO's generating and how much is forecast to be generated by solar. So if you take what they're generating minus the solar, you should get what's required to be supplemented. So the first 2 lines add up, but when you get into the next ones, the math doesn't work. And so I've had them put a little paragraph in there stating that it's based on a spreadsheet and it's based on the supply and demand. So Gazintas doesn't go into Gazintas and equal Gazintas. It equals some other number. So you can't base it by doing simple subtraction. I looked at them all and I phoned the engineers back and I said, you guys must use totally different math than I was raised on. So they've explained it. So I had them put a little paragraph in there explaining that do not think math is math.
Okay, numbers usually equal numbers,
Well,
but
and they should,
okay,
but it's one of them ones where 1 + 1 = 5 type thing.
it's
So,
great math.
yes,
Okay, well, this typically a committee of the whole, we don't make a decision, but if we want to make this available to the public, and I think we're comfortable with that, then we can do a motion to accept the district heat final report.
that's just this.
Yeah.
Right?
and your worship, you do have a couple members of the committee that was working with us on that, so I think it would be nice that it could be released so they can review it as well.
I've been asked several times by several members if they could have access to it, so. So if we can have a motion to accept this document as
I'll
presented.
make a motion to accept the final report on the Watson Lake District Energy System.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Councillor Hancher and Councillor Paquette. All in favor? Carried. I think it's exciting. Great work. Appreciate all you've done on that. I also want to just mention, I think that there's also potential for greener savings with the idea of maybe switching to LNG. And if LNG is a potential within the community, we could be saving money for ATCO but essentially for us
Yeah.
at the same time.
Well, and your worship, to go with the proposal that the engineering firm that's coming in on the weekend or on the 15th. That is part of the conversations that since you and I met Arrow Peak. I spoke with these guys about actually seeing if we could put an LNG in for ourselves and how big of storage we would need to have our own LNG source to do those buildings of our own there. So it'd be interesting to see what the options they come up with.
Mhm.
Because as Cryo Peak said, they're, propane, we're paying 74 cents a liter right now.
Mhm.
And they quoted us, what, 22 cents a liter for LNG? So that's a huge saving for the same BTU.
Well, they mentioned the cheapest LNG in the world right now is in Fort Nelson. And they're shipping it north from there.
Yeah.
So it's coming past us every day. And I think it would be huge savings for the town of Watson Lake. And they also mentioned a few times that the cost to transition isn't gonna be what
Huge.
we were initially told as well. I don't know what, someone told us, I think you knew why the LNG project kind of got put on hold in the past.
Like, that was the actual generating stuff, and I can't remember the exact reasoning, but I see MLA McLeod's on, and she might be able to fill us in during question period.
Yeah, well, gallery open forum. So we'll leave it at that for gallery open forum, but if you have any questions regarding this, could you please bring it forward? Okay. Thanks again, Pam. Number 7 is the AYC report. Councilor Hancher.
Sure, I'll go first.
Okay.
This past weekend. Hang on one second, this is. This past weekend, Councillor Paquette, CAO Lockwood, and myself attended the quarterly board meeting in Whitehorse. Meeting, and I don't want that. Minister Boston was there and he addressed the room. He gave an update on a few topics of relevance to AYC, such as the potential legislation to extend the municipal terms of office, the formal launching of the Better Build program, and the current status of the regional landfill agreements. AYC has begun to work on some major priorities such as the CMG and the renewal of the Canada Community Building Fund or gas tax. President Laking has written a letter to the minister requesting that AYC be a part of those discussions. The policy papers that AYC had developed regarding the priority topics of housing, staff retention, sustainable infrastructure, managing growth, and climate change have been finalized and were passed at the board meeting with the understanding that those papers would be living documents, which will change and evolve as needed. And it was agreed that the documents will be reviewed at least annually to make sure that they stay relevant. Regarding the Animal Protection and Control Act, President Laking sent a letter to the minister requesting that YG partner with AYC to establish a working group for development of the regulations similar to the one that they formed for the Better Build program. So because more consultations needed there. I'll just mention that our own CAO, Lockwood, was appointed to the CMG working group that will work with AYC, YG, and others to negotiate, review, renew, whatever that process looks like for the comprehensive municipal grant. I'm personally very excited to have him on that committee. I'm sure he's thrilled for another committee. So we had a few presentations. One was regarding the extended producer responsibility or EPR, which is, and I'm quoting here, a program and policy approach that aims to shift operational responsibility, as well as the cost of managing specific waste from the municipal tax base to the producers. So basically producers of the garbage or the product take responsibility for the recycling and disposal rather than local government. The engagement period for that ends on January 27th, 2023. So there's still some time to provide feedback if you would like to, and I'm sure we can get our hands on that presentation if
Please.
you're interested.
Yes.
Another presentation on Yukon flood mapping. Fortunately, in Watson Lake, we don't really have to deal with flooding too much, but the reality is that there are 14 other communities in the Yukon that do have to deal with that. And the goal there is for YG to develop flood hazard maps for the 14 communities, which is important for their community resiliency and important for areas where future development is being considered. And then the last presentation that we had was on the Community Tourism Destination Fund, which is new funding. Now, this card, which you probably have already, but some new funding that has been allotted by YG to support community projects across the Yukon that focus on sustainable tourism development and improve tourism-related services and infrastructure. This is a competitive fund of $1 million per year that will fund ideally 4 to 8 projects annually. I'm sure, I think Cam's team has already been briefed on the
Is it a total of 1 million or was it?
total 1 million per year, so it is competitive.
Okay.
Yeah.
All the Yukon.
As you know, we will be hosting the AYC AGM on the weekend of May 12th, 2023. AYC staff will be working with CAM and administration to plan what I'm sure will be an epic weekend of municipal government fun. So at the AGM, you know that we always vote on resolutions. I will be chairing the resolutions committee this year. So I think that as the host community, it would be really nice if we could possibly sponsor or put forward one of the resolutions this year. So I would really love if everyone could just think hard on that, and maybe in the new year, we could have a more formal discussion about it.
Sure. Sounds great.
And that is all for me. Any questions?
There was actually one thing that you did miss there.
What did I miss?
And that was where the COVID relief fund, AYC voted because we started the request.
Oh, yes,
for the
sorry.
second round of funding for COVID relief. And then the city of Whitehorse had the resolution passed last year at AYC AGM, and then it's been back and forth with the government. And now Mr. Mostyn's office has come back and saying, well, we want examples of where municipalities save money due to COVID.
Mhm.
So it was debated at the meeting, and a motion was passed that municipalities would waive, the smaller municipalities would waive COVID repayment for the second go round. And the ask would be for Whitehorse, Dawson, and Watson Lake, as we were the 3 communities that were affected by more losses due to our demographic of tourism and traffic flow. So that recommendation has gone forward. President Laking will be in touch with Minister Mostyn again to play this on in dance.
Mhm.
But hopefully there will be some more compensation, because we can actually prove that we lost money during COVID, where the smaller municipalities actually, some of them save money or gain money, so.
Yeah.
Or weren't affected, yeah.
Well, there was instances where we might have saved money, but.
On some sides, but other sides we hemorrhaged.
Right.
Thank you for that.
Thank you, Councillor Henchar. Thank you, Councillor Paquette, for attending. Thank you, CA Lockwood.
Sorry, did you want to add anything?
You did.
Okay.
Well, I was like, oh,
Okay.
okay, this is great. The only other thing is we were doing lunch and learns, right? We were doing lunch and learns at lunchtime on the.
Yeah, this is leading up to the board meeting, yeah.
Yeah, so, yeah, just on the resolutions that we had. So.
Can I have a few words, please?
You can, as soon as we have the gallery open forum, Jerry.
Okay.
Otherwise we'll
I
just,
think you guys gonna fit us in
yeah, we
at
are.
the end of the way, Steve.
Yeah, and we'll get you there. No, sorry, I mentioned that we have the gallery open forum. If anybody could talk at any time, we'd be here all night. I'm sorry. But we will get to you. Don't forget what you wanted to ask, please. Okay? Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Councillor Paquette. Thank you, CAO Lockwood. It's great that you guys are there and attending and representing Watson Lake. Wonderful. Great job. Next on the agenda is the fees and charges amendment bylaw. Not sure why amendments is in there. But fees and charges bylaw. Has everybody had a chance to look at it? It's quite lengthy. On the gallery, this was created only 2 years ago, maybe. CEO Lockwood?
Well, previously, all the fees and charges were
Yeah.
included in each bylaw.
Right.
And it meant that every year we had to do three readings on each bylaw to amend any of the fees, so it was all incorporated in the new fees and charges bylaw. So it's only one bylaw that has to be reviewed annually.
If everybody would like, maybe CAO Lockwood's gonna be better at this, but maybe we can just go over
What the changes are?
what the changes are suggested.
Well, okay, your worship, some stuff we do have suggestions.
Yeah.
Other stuff, it's up to council and based on if even council wants anything done with them.
Right.
So, most of it starts off in the first section under animal control. So animal control, we're looking for increase in licensing fees for pets. So annual license from $10 to $20, lifetime tag $50. Dawson City is the only other one with a comparable, and they're at $40 for the year. And then the next one down is annual special permit. We're currently at $50 and suggesting the increase was 75. There's no other comparables. We're the only ones that have that fee. And then the next one is annual special permit for all other animals other than dogs and cats. From $10 to $50. That's for horses, chickens, ducks, which we haven't been enforcing because we didn't have a bylaw officer to find out who was raising chickens in their backyard and stuff. So, and really it was a $10 permit where we have to go investigate it. So we lose money every day on that. And the next one down is the pound feed and care charge for $15 a day. We're recommending going to 20. Dawson City, Whitehorse is $25 a day. Dawson City is 20 for comparables. Business license, annual local business license, current fees 100. Suggested increases to 125. Whitehorse is 160. Dawson City is 125. The next one down is the annual non-resident business license. It's $200 currently. Suggested increases $250. The comparables are Whitehorse at $846 a year and Dawson City at $600 a year. So as you can see, we're a fair amount cheaper than the other comparables in the territory. Additional business license operating from the same address. Currently, we're at 50. Suggestion was 75. Comparable was Whitehorse at $60. Seasonal business license, which is for 6 months. The calendar year, we're at 50. We're looking to go to 125. Comparable and Whitehorse is $100.
Can I ask a quick question right there, or do you want me to wait until the end?
No, ask them now.
I was just wondering about the seasonal local business license. Does that matter which 6 months that is?
No.
Or it's just like 6 months from the date of issue, so it could be like
Yeah.
November to March or
Yes.
whatever it is. And then my other question is there such thing as, or should there be a seasonal non-local as well? Because
Well, see, most of the non-residents are under the intermunicipal licenses unless they're from outside the territory.
okay, so just quick side note, if you have the intermunicipal business license, do you need this license as
No.
well?
No,
That's
this,
all you need is intermunicipal?
yes,
Okay.
well, and see the non-resident one for the full amount, that is for BC out of territory.
The 250,
Yeah.
the suggested
Yeah.
250.
Got you, okay, thank you.
Alright.
Why are those, sorry,
Yeah.
if we're talking about it,
Yeah.
why do you imagine those comparables are so much higher?
I honestly don't know why the comparables are that much.
would it be worth looking into? Because if you know, other municipalities have considered a comparable of $600 where we're gonna be $250. And if a non-resident wants to do business here, it's competing with local business, so, I mean. It might be considered
I think majority of the ones we get are
survives
actually
construction.
like they're the fruit truck type guys.
Mhm.
Compared to Whitehorse, where they're actually getting these companies coming in and doing a large amount of like HVAC work or
Yeah.
construction work or stuff like that, where we don't seem to have that. But the only way I'd be able to figure that, I can reach out to Whitehorse and Dawson to see if I can find that out for you.
Yeah, see what their intention was. That'd be great, thank you.
The next area is under development permits for demolition. Currently, we do not charge a fee for a development permit. We still do the paperwork. It's still fine. So, suggested is that we go to $200 for a development permit for demolition. And comparables are Whitehorse at $150 plus $5 a square meter. And Dawson is at $210 for permit. Road closure, we currently don't charge a fee. In the time I've been here, we have not done a road closure. But suggested was to have a fee in case something did come up at 100. Whitehorse is $500 and Dawson's $210. And then the next one is zoning bylaw map amendment, and that would go if somebody was like spot zoning, like if somebody was approved for that. Currently, we're at $300. Suggestion is to go to 4. Whitehorse is at $350. Dawson's $410. An OCP change. Currently, we're at $300 to do an OCP change, which is very time and labor intensive.
Yes.
And so recommendation would go to $750. And Whitehorse is the only comparable at $1,030. I think the reason that the dollar amounts are that range is to try and get away from OCP changes.
Was it, sorry, when you say that Whitehorse was the only one that was
It's a comparable that
that matched where you wanted to go, everyone else was less?
well, and the other ones don't list them in their fees and charges.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah, and then the next one is internment. Casket during business hours for $385. Suggested to go to $360. Whitehorse, the only one with a comparable, with a charge, and it's at $625. The total fee for plot and interment must be paid in full prior to service. No way of knowing if there's going to be overtime ahead of time, so hence the reason we've gone to the recommended to a higher amount to absorb that. Because we very seldom, probably only 5% of the interments occur during working hours.
May I
So we're paying overtime.
ask one more question? Just as we're getting into the cemetery stuff right now, since we haven't really finished up with the cemetery bylaw and whatnot, is there, like the changes that are being made right now, there's still a chance that these net figures could change again
Yes, this is just.
once we finalize that bylaw?
Yeah,
Okay.
but this is to get us so we're not hemorrhaging money
Okay,
doing what we're doing, and then when council has agreed to your cemetery bylaw, then that will all be looked at again.
again, okay, thank you.
And then, internment of an urn, we're at 135, and we go to 175. Comparable is Whitehorse at 425. Then down quite a ways, then we get into solid waste, sorted C&D waste. It's at $80 a ton. Whitehorse is at $116.03. I'm not sure how they came up with that one. And I was informed on Friday that Whitehorse's rates are going higher. They're looking at pushing, and that goes to the unsorted side. Their C&D unsorted, which is the next line down, is going to 400, currently at 300, and we're at 280. And the big reason to try and push for higher rates on unsorted C and D is trying to get people to divert. So they're actually taking the copper pipe and the metals out and diverting them, so we're not putting them in the landfill.
Mhm.
Hence the reason that the amounts are higher there.
Mhm.
Okay. And because it costs us huge amount of money to deal with that. And then the next one is residual sorted waste, which is residential waste. We're at $80 a ton. Whitehorse has gone to 116.03. Same with scrap metals, and we're at $80 a ton. Whitehorse is at 116.03. I'm of the personal belief that scrap metals needs to be higher because it's gonna be really expensive for us to get rid of the scrap metal in the landfill.
Mhm.
We've been really pushing for everybody that instead of us taking it to take it to Scrappy. But Scrappy Larry's yard is right plumb full right now, so we're receiving an onerous amount of scrap metal right now.
Can
So-
I ask a question? Sorry, why is it then we don't have a suggested rate for these ones? I know you have them highlighted, but we don't
Yeah.
have any suggested rate there.
Well, because it's been a sort of a bone of contention with some of the counselors as to where we would go on those rates, so we left it up to council.
Okay.
And then down.
Sorry, with that being said, Cam, do you guys, is there any thoughts on those prices or any idea what you might want that, what you might want that to look like?
I am not prepared to answer that at this time.
Okay.
So you said the fees for Whitehorse are going up. Do you have any clue? Any further,
Well.
know any more about that?
They talked, I can reach out to Whitehorse to get their new rates, now that, because like I said, there's unsorted C and D's going up another $100.
I guess I'm just not sure what's reasonable. Like, I don't know anything about scrap metal.
And Whitehorse is taking the stance that, no taxpayer money will be put into running the landfill. It's gotta be cost recovery,
Mhm.
hence the reason they take that stance.
Well, that would be my comment.
Yeah.
Is that our landfill did quite well.
It has, but it offsets recycling,
Yeah,
which hemorrhages money every year, right?
right. But still, I
yeah.
think it's doing okay. You know, we're gonna review these in the future. And my comment would be that aside from trying to discourage the use or, dumping of scrap metals, which I can understand you might want to discourage that, and by that raising the price of it. Other than that, it'd be tough to raise a bunch of prices if we're doing okay, So that would just be my
No, and
comment.
that's the reason, your worship, that we didn't put any rates in there, because I knew it was gonna be, it was an issue that council had. So,
Okay,
It's hard to make any kind of decision when there's, like, I'm uneducated as opposed to any of this, like what it costs us to, to like ship things or, things like that, like how close we are to actually filling up our dump, and if we're gonna have to look at another area, or you know what I mean? So it's hard to know. And then it's also hard to know why our rates then are different than Whitehorse's rates. When we have to send things to them, don't we?
Well,
Isn't that
no,
where we send
no,
our stuff to?
no, our, everything in our landfill stays in our landfill.
But scrap metal and stuff like
Scrap metal goes out, but we're in the same boat as everybody. We can't find anybody to take scrap metal because of the rates are so low. So we're gonna have to pay to have scrap metal hauled out. So that's the one that has me worried. Our costs might be more than what we're taking in to get rid of it. And we do have to get rid of it. And everything else is in-house, and it's unfortunate because we did present to council, and it's previous to your term, so I must apologize, but landfill, based on current estimates, we have approximately 100 years of landfill space here in Watson.
Well, thank you for explaining that, because then that really gives us a little bit of education as to what's actually happening. So thank you.
Your worship, and I am comfortable for this year at the 80, like our existing rates per ton for our solid waste.
That's my other that I guess just the scrap metal would be, something to consider. If we're trying to discourage it and it is expensive and we're doing good the way it is, then we should continue to discourage it, and hopefully somebody else can benefit from that scrap. All right, well, let's carry on.
Now we're down into, residential water and sewer non-metered service. Currently we're $35 a month. Whitehorse is $93.12 a month. And Dawson is $85.85 a month. Residential water, consumption over minimum metered rates is $1.50 a cubic meter here. Whitehorse is $2.27, a cubic meter for overage.
Do we have a minimum?
Yeah, 20 cubic meters for 30, that goes with their $30 a month.
Okay.
Okay. And then commercial metered minimum rate is based on 20 cubic meters. We're $67.50 for commercial. Whitehorse is $85.85 a month.
When you say based on 20 cubic meters, what does that mean?
That's using 22 cubic meters of water. So that would be 20,000 liters a month.
Okay. That makes sense. Thank you.
Then the next one is for non-metered rates. And our current fee for laundromats, I should say, is $26.75 a month per washer. And Dawson or Whitehorse is the same rate. Dawson is $68.53 a month. So huge difference there. I believe all our businesses in Watson Lake are on that have laundry mats are all metered. So it's really a moot point for us. It would be somebody new starting up. And then the next one is non-metered service for schools, $70.88 currently a month. Whitehorse is really close, $70.87 a month. Dawson is $149.62. Both our schools are metered.
So is it necessary to even have that in there?
Well, yeah, it's part of our bylaw, so I wouldn't, because we'd have to open up the bylaw to get rid of it, but you can leave the rate status quo. And I know council, those are in there because also when you did it 2 years ago, you committed that you wanted to review the
Yeah.
rates, right?
Because I thought that if YG's paying the bill.
Yeah.
That why not? You know?
Yeah.
They consume a lot of water all year round, even when they're watering the fields.
Yeah, and yeah, so they are metered, so we are billing them.
Okay.
And then the next one. And I don't, well, these two might have been, I don't know if they were carryovers, but they're not highlighted, but the camera inspection for under Lagoon. $100 per hour, and the freeze machine, same thing, $100 an hour.
Mhm.
And then down to the bowling alleys as requested by council, bowling alley rental, $50 for 2 hours, so $25 an hour. In Whitehorse, it is $240 for 2 lanes for 2 hours, so quite a significant difference.
I would argue different service as well, though.
Well, yeah, it's
And
private,
And yeah,
so we can't compare. Bowling alley rental, currently we have no daily rate. So suggested was $150 for rentals 4 hours or more.
so. Sorry, keep talking, sorry. Apologies. Give me a second.
And then the next one is bowling alley local nonprofit rental. Currently, we don't. We do not have rates for those.
See where you're going with the bowling amounts.
The 150 for over 4 hours just seems weird to me, because if it's $25 an hour, if you had a 5-hour event, it would be 125. And for 4 hours, you'd be paying less than that.
More than that.
So just something doesn't seem right there to me.
Either raise the regular hourly rate or decrease the rent for a day,
Yeah, it seems like it should be a deal.
or increase that hourly rate.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's right there.
Because currently we're $25 an hour, right?
Yeah,
Right,
but at 4 hours, it should be $100.
Yeah.
But anything over 4 hours is $150. So
Yeah, but you can do 6 hours.
Yeah, that's true. I guess it depends on, I guess it
Yeah.
depends on how much you want to do.
Just rent the whole day
Yeah,
for $150, that's pretty
yeah,
cheap.
true.
I know, but.
But if you only wanted 4 hours.
You only wanted,
But that's
Yeah.
the problem, don't do it then like that.
Okay,
I don't know.
okay.
I don't know, but I'm just saying it out loud.
Yeah, I
It
know.
seems funny.
Yeah, it looks
It
funny,
does.
it looks funny,
I
it
agree.
does.
If that's your minimum kind of thing.
So leave it as is for now?
Yeah,
Okay.
So it says over 4 hours, which
Yeah,
could
it could be
mean
6
4 hours or
hours.
more,
Yeah.
basically, renting it for 4 hours.
At the next meeting.
For the 120.
We
Anything more.
have done for, so we'll
Would make
do.
sense. Then that would be starting at 5 hours.
Yes.
That makes sense. Yeah.
One more council.
I just wanna look at the calendar. I don't,
Yeah.
Okay, so let's carry on then.
yeah,
Okay,
sorry, thank you.
thank you very
So
much.
the next one is the ski chalet rental. Currently, we have no rent. Recommendation is $275 for the day or $2 per hour. That's based on our other rentals. For same size. And then the next one is one below it. It's not highlighted, but it's with the kitchen, $300 a day or $75 per hour.
So when the companies were renting it, like the fire, did we just made up the price?
No, it wasn't us, that was the ski.
Oh, that was a ski club. Okay. Yeah.
And then next is ski chalet, local nonprofit rental. Currently no rate and suggestion is $175 a day or $40 an hour. And with the kitchen, $200 a day or $50.
Mhm.
And then down to MSB training room with kitchen. Currently no rate, so $100 for the day or $25 per hour. And then for nonprofits, $50 a day or $20 an hour. Personally, I think that was a little low for those.
Seems cheap. I mean, if you gotta clean it afterwards at all,
Yeah.
which you will.
I think it should be on, I think it should be more on this, on the. Comparable to the ski chalet stuff, right?
Yeah, might as well. I mean,
Yeah,
you're gonna need the same amount of service and.
Or I would think comparable to the curling lounge.
Yeah.
Cause size wise, it's not far off from.
Who put those rates in to start with anyway, the suggested rates?
Those would have come from the recommended.
Oh, okay.
And then scrolling down, then we're into drop-in rates. So currently we're at $630 a day for 19 to 59. $525 a day for seniors and youth. And then $315 a day for drop-in. Comparables are Whitehorse at $6, Dawson at $11.25. Whitehorse at $5 and $7, and Dawson at $7.52. And then Whitehorse at $4 and Dawson at $7.04. And then into the family package dates for daily. We're at $15.75, that's for 2 adults, 2 children. Whitehorse is $7, Dawson $21.52. The next one, we're at swimming pool, $5.25 for adults. Whitehorse $6, Dawson $11.52. Seniors $4.20. Whitehorse $5, Dawson $7.52. And then kids under 12, we're at $3.15. Whitehorse $4, Dawson $7.04.
And that's based on all of these activities for that one
Well,
price.
Some of them are the last 3 were the pool,
And then,
the one.
and this,
before-
and the facility Whitehorse is basing this on, is that's the Canada Game Center?
Yes,
Interesting.
and then the next one down is the monthly pass, the 10 pass. We're at $52.50, Whitehorse is $48, Dawson's $100. For seniors, we're at $31.50, Dawson, or Whitehorse must be just a flat rate going across the board. And we're at 60, or Dawson's 65, and then for children, we're at 21 and Dawson's at 60. And then the family rate is 105 per month, Dawson is 155. Then you get into the next ones are the. Swimming pool.
I think it's the 10.
No, it's ten,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
right, so.
Yeah.
So swimming pool punch pass $42, $35.21. White Horse is $48.40 and 32, Dawson 100, 65 and 60. And then the family pass, we're at 105. White Horse is 108 and Dawson 185. So really, on comparison, we're really close, right, other than Dawson. And then, yeah, no pass for bowling, fitness, saunas. We're at 525. Dawson, or White Horse 210, Dawson 682. 315 compared to 180 and 442. And 210 compared to 140 and 442. Recommendation is to get rid of those yearly pass things. Is the number that are straight on.
Yeah,
Mhm.
doesn't make sense.
And then rental prices, right now, cross country skis are at $630 a day. Recommendation to go to $10.50, $10 plus GST. And White Horse is $10, but I would assume there's just $10 plus GST, so it would be identical. And same thing with snowshoes, $630 to $10.50, and White Horse is the same rate.
Yeah.
And that is it, worship.
Thank you.
Mm.
My only comment might be is to suggest a flat rate of some sort for those day passes, you know, $6, $5, $3 instead of $3.15, $5.25, whatever it might be. That's that's
Yeah.
just for ease, of payment, change, et cetera.
But that's, sorry, you're talking about like the drop-in rate? It's because of the GST, because it was always like $6, but then it was like $35 or like.
Okay, so $6.30 will break.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So, okay,
So the actual fee would have to be some weird.
Gotcha.
For it to even out.
you're right. Okay, thank you. Thank you for that.
And that's probably when you look at White Horse where they're saying $6, it's the same price.
Right.
Because ours includes GST, there's.
Okay, good. Thank you for all that work. Excellent. There's a lot going on there and it's great to get a good rundown of what things are being looked at. Like I said, it wasn't a decision meeting, but it is, we've done first reading so far. So the next reading will be second and third, and there will be one more chance if you guys want to take a good look at this and add any feedback.
So
January.
I guess when will the numbers be put in here? Like, I know you're waiting for some feedback from us, but I guess. Like, do you want, I don't know how you get that information. Cause
I was just gonna suggest, this is what we've done first reading. We'll do second and third, and if you want to provide your feedback during that time, that's fine.
no, I know. So if that doesn't happen, when, like, are you just gonna plunk some numbers in here? Because we're not gonna do second and third reading on something that doesn't have any numbers in it.
Well, I guess your worship, if there's no feedback from council, then it would be status quo.
It would be stay the same. Okay.
But you were commenting on some things you could change and some things you need council input, so just which
Well,
things.
I need council input on all of it.
All the ones that are blank, you're still waiting for input.
Okay,
Is there any feedback at this time?
right now? No, not at the moment. I need to have it on a paper sheet,
Okay,
look at it a little bit better. On the computer, it doesn't help for me.
Councillor Henshaw, suggestion as to how this can be presented in for the next reading. How about that?
Sorry,
How would you like it presented for the next reading? With the status quo or similar, same format?
same format.
Okay.
And then I guess we can just submit any.
Yeah.
Feedback through email.
Yep, or bring it to the next council meeting so we can, yeah,
Yeah, okay.
okay. Reach out to the constituents, see what everybody thinks. Hopefully you all have a chance to look at it. Okay, thanks, Kim. Jerry, you look anxious. So if you want to ask your question, let's do it.
Well, I just want to come out like, so you said it was $3 million or closer to one.
Okay.
Because Dave Callis was our mayor that time, I would meet with them to see where we were. I put this, I did all the physical work,
Mhm.
and installated the pipe, buried the pipe, and did all that stuff. So I know it was involved. And like you said, it was $3 million, but as I was concerned, it was $1 million. You know, so there we are. So why is it so inflated for us?
No, Jerry, the 3 million is the estimate to expand to the hospital and to the elementary school.
Okay, so I understood you wrong.
Yeah.
Because when you meant $2 million, it's no, it was $1 million.
Yeah.
So. And if they're gonna expand it, you know, like, I did the whole system. Well, I went to the school, well, I went to the tech hall and all this and that. So years ago, we want to expand it just for the people who were interested. With a line like this place, we would tap in. Then we have the next expansion. You know what we're spending. In the development. So we were gonna keep on going, tie into the liquor store. the hotel, do the loop, come back. Down at the Northern Lights Center. So that's was a program again, so I don't know if that one is dead or not. But to me, it's just most of this straightforward. But now they spend more time talking about it.
So Jerry,
Basically doing it.
so I thought maybe you had a question, but bottom line is that report's available. So maybe suggest that you get your hands on it. Take a good read of it
Yeah.
and then go through it, make sure you understand 100%. And it's a bit, and we're all available to discuss it at any point in time. And Cam's obviously the pro. And I'm sure he'll be happy to give you some more details.
It was basically a misunderstanding because I called for something, said, oh, it's about waste heat, this and that. Okay, well, okay, I show up.
Yeah, No.
Basically,
no, so it was more about the report. So get your hands on that report.
And then, yeah, Jerry, then I can sit down with it and go over it with you if you
Yeah.
want, you and Jim. And discuss what's in there.
yeah, it would be nice to know because I was right at the beginning when this all started. Okay. thank
You want to see your project come back to life,
The
I
other thing
understand.
is sometimes we let the valley just way too long because we don't get involved with you.
I understand. No, I understand where you're coming from, but usually if we have an agenda like this, as you can see from the fees and charges bylaw, we have to go through it. It's due diligence, it's, a lot of work. And we just have to get through it or else we'll be here, like I said earlier, we'll be here all night if we don't.
Just focus on basic.
Or we,
Okay,
yeah. Thanks, Jerry.
thank you.
Okay,
Jerry.
Okay.
get a good. Fix up those Christmas lights. They're still looking a little saggy.
Yeah. Okay, bye.
Appreciate you.
Thanks, Jerry. All right, so next on the agenda is number 9, council procedures bylaw. Is there any questions, comments? Any feedback from what you saw from our community services rep? Anything? Yeah.
The only thing that I saw was with reading the city of Whitehorse as well as conjunction about ordinance. There's zero talk about time frame for giving a response. Zero. And just by reading Mike's comments of how I think he thinks like a bunch of communities and municipalities don't do that is because they don't want to be constricted. If they like it, because you have to, I think you have to have the flexibility with whatever situation comes up to be able to give a response in some sort of time fashion, but you can't put a time on that because a serious one couldn't give a response now, where one that's not as serious you can get your facts together and do a response within.
So I guess my counter argument to that is non-argument, sorry. Wrong word. My point to that is that how does the person who sent the correspondence know what's going on? So if it's gonna take 3 to 6 months to get, because you're right, some things are more complex than others, but how is that person gonna know what's going on behind the scenes? So I guess what I'm getting at is just this, even if it's a one-liner that says, hey, just so you know, we acknowledge receipt of your letter, we're working on it, and we will get back to you. Just something like that, so they just don't feel like, oh, well, I submitted this letter and I never, ever heard anything back. Because I think that's where the problem was, I don't know. You know, so I understand what you're saying, but I guess I just think,
Just so the gallery knows, this is a council procedures bylaw that hasn't been looked at for quite some time. There's been a few incidences in the recent past with letters written to council and maybe a little less diligent on the response time, or maybe the wrong, there was some issues there. So that's why we're looking at this, and it is due for review because it's old and it needs to be redone. So that's where we're at. Our community services rep gave us some examples of what else is going on in the Yukon. So yeah, just so you know. Councillor Paquette, it looked like you had a comment.
Yeah, and I tend to agree with Lauren. I think there should be some acknowledgement that when we receive something, that we should just be like, you know, there again, if we, you know, acknowledge that you actually received it. It doesn't even mean that we have to actually address anything in it. It's just an acknowledgement.
it's like a blanket letter.
Yeah.
Automatic response,
Well,
I don't know.
But I mean, you know, the reality is that at least you know that, okay, they actually did get it, because things do get lost in email. You know, I know I sent a letter to council and I never heard anything back, like forever. And I actually had to like go to the mayor several times before I actually got a letter back. So it is difficult when you send somebody something and you don't hear anything. And that means that, and to me, if somebody does that, it means that they don't care. You just don't care. The organization doesn't care about the people and what people submit to them. That's what it says to me in the feedback. So then I was like, well, really? Like, yeah, I care about this. Why aren't they responding back? And so that's what I think people probably feel like if we don't actually acknowledge them. And I mean, in reality, we're working for everybody in our community. We were voted in. And so it is our responsibility to make sure that the people of the town actually feel like we care about who voted us in, and that we actually care about our community. And by doing that, that's a way of us acknowledging that, which is so simple, right? It's just something really simple. It's just an acknowledgement. Because we all are busy, and I think people realize that we're busy. We don't have time to necessarily address their issues right at the time. Some things are easier, but not everything, right? So
we should look into a generic response of, yes, we acknowledge your time and thank you for being there, and we will look into your problem. Whether or not, and we can elaborate on that from there, right?
I do like though, Haynes Junction's way of describing what appropriate correspondence is though. Because there's nothing in ours really that does that, and how that should look like. I think it should be only fair like that most correspondence should come in writing and not phoned on the weekend. Like the mayor or the CEO, like. You know what I mean?
I
think
totally
there should
agree with
be
you.
a structure to how we take in correspondence.
I totally agree with you. I think that, yeah, that there should be like, you know, if you want something to be addressed in council, you need to submit it in writing.
Yeah.
So that we have that like
That's right.
paper trail, and things would get like lost.
That's what I think. too.
Translation or
There could be
anything like
some
that,
sort of
like-
structure where what's accepted as correspondence.
Mhm. Do you think that also, I was just hearing you say that, I didn't read their bylaw, but just hearing you say that, do you think that that also means that there would be some sort of filter of the types of things that would come forward, or does it sound like
No.
They'll bring
no,
every
because
single-
They don't have really filter on the types of things that come forward. I think it's just how it's received and then addressed by council.
Oh, okay.
What they mostly have in their bylaw, because you like it as long as it's within whatever our rule will be, how a correspondence is taken in and done, because I think the thing with getting away from like, say, phone calls or texts, it's just there's nothing there really. Like, I just think it's inappropriate.
Yep.
Sort of way form of, if you have a disagreement or a point that you're trying to get across, to do it like that.
There should be some protocol
I guess-
and procedures to accept information and deliver it to council.
And I guess where I was going with that though is because I think that if somebody, whatever it is, whatever point that they would like us to address, I think that we have an obligation to address that. You know.
No, we do,
irrespective
and
of-
I think that too.
And I guess my next point is who decides? And I'm just trying to find the right spot in here, but who decides? Or does anybody have veto power for things to not get to the agenda? Do you know what I mean? Like if somebody wants something addressed or whether that's. And, sorry, so I'm just, sorry, thinking on the fly, but the process to be a delegation versus the process to submit correspondence, are those similar? What do those look like?
To be a delegation, you can submit within 48 hours to be a delegation.
Falls under section 11.
Yeah. And I would imagine correspondence is similar. So I personally believe that there should be some. I mean, we want to accept and deliver as best a service we can. We want to take in whatever we can. Sometimes there's something we've dealt with on several occasions or is being dealt with. And, you know, I think there should be some structure that allows council some ability to control the situation. You know, we don't want to inundate administration with all sorts of things. So I think that we should look into an option within the delegations part of this bylaw to give council some control. And I'm not saying that we want to be able to veto entirely, but I do believe that there should be a way to deal with people or situations, I should say, that have been dealt with or that are becoming a nuisance. And it's not even that once existed, but I'm not saying it could very well happen. Right? Let's say, for example, someone has a really noisy neighbor and they come every other Tuesday to a committee of the whole meeting to tell us about their really noisy neighbor. If they ask to be a delegation, they can be a delegation, and we have to listen to that conversation every 2 weeks or twice a month. So that's where I'm saying there should be some control on what we can do in that situation. Agree or disagree?
Both. I can see how that would be a nuisance and I can see, but at the same time,
Maybe if it's even a voted situation, you know,
Yeah.
like maybe there's some level of control that we can have. Not one person's.
mhm. Anyways,
Okay,
things to think about.
And your worship, just for the record, I think, you know, if there's nothing else that if you find as an issue in the current bylaw, then the correspondence piece could be just the policy instead of real bylaw. If there was nothing else you wanted to change.
Because I think that's what Kings Junction is, it's a policy, yeah, that's what I thought.
Just stepping back there a little bit, just because people have people's personal phone numbers, I think there should be some boundaries where people aren't then inundating you with all kinds of, texts and whatever else at, off hours, on weekends. And I know that's happened to you, Cam, in the past, and it's something where there should be some boundaries and people need to respect the fact too that having something in place where, it's expected that you send an email And then they can send their emails whenever they want, and then you receive them on work time. But I think that it's really, when people have your personal information. And then, but then they abuse that and start using that for work-related instances is not appropriate either. And so I don't know if, that's where I feel like having that, like an email in particular, as an acceptable form of communication, I think should be something that we have in there. I think that's really important.
That could be a policy thing, like the correspondence policy.
Your worship, I honestly believe that and when you look at Page Junction, it's gotta be in writing, so, and I believe a text message is not a formal.
No,
Communication line.
because I think even in Page Junction, it says email or written. And I think that's what it should be. I don't think you should be bombarded with questions like that over text message.
It's not a formal correspondence.
No,
But it's also a boundary issue in like somebody's crossed that boundary where then we need to say, that's where we need to be very clear about. This is something that,
I think whoever's on the receiving end of that too,
yeah.
can just be like, appropriate, this is the channel that you need to.
Yeah, that's right.
Exactly.
You'd have to just say.
Exactly.
this is what-
The receiver needs to be enforcing those boundaries.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And that's where I discussed my staff over this, that anything that's related to work. You tell the people that it's not, you have an email, not a text.
for sake of going forward, like we're having this conversation now, but the next council is gonna have the same problem. I think that it's worthwhile having correspondence policy and code of, like, protocol for what counselors encounter in that situation, and having complaints department email, basically saying that this is the avenue of which you have to take this discussion. And until we receive it within council, we can't address it.
Right.
Otherwise, it won't be taken seriously and we
Comments.
move forward. Yeah,
Not appropriate.
exactly.
I think that's how it should be done too.
So well, I think if there's not a big issue with the bylaw, which is what I'm kind of hearing, then like Cam suggested, we can work on the policy during her correspondence more so than divulging into a new bylaw. Disagreements? Agreements?
And your worship, I think like in Hayes Junction, it lays it out pretty good. The following types of correspondence will be placed in under correspondence section of regular council meeting agendas. Right, it lays it out and it has as defined under how it relates to this plot. Perfect. And then I think if you want that other paragraph, it's a paragraph that we add in about responding, saying thank you for the receipt of your email. It's the same thing. So, if council wants to direct administration, you will come up with a draft incoming correspondence policy to bring back to you.
If you can include outgoing as well,
Outgoing, yeah.
in that same correspondence
Yeah.
policy within the bylaw.
Well, I think it falls under incoming because we're getting correspondence and it's a response from incoming.
Fine.
Makes sense,
Yeah, no,
right?
Yeah.
But I think if you guys want to direct this, then we will. Bring
It's
you
not
back
typically a
something.
decision meeting, but I will entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to direct administration to start work on development of a correspondence policy to accompany our council procedures bylaw.
I will second that.
Any more questions, comments? All in favor? Carried. Okay. Number 10, FMC conference. Any update? It says FMC on the agenda.
Whatever.
I'm just reading what I'm. Do you want to know who's got some update for me? Me.
Oh, I don't know. Sorry, I could, okay, so I'll start if you want. So I believe the reason why this is on the agenda is because at a previous meeting, I expressed interest and in potentially attending the conference this year. I also expressed interest in us sending CAO Lockwood to FCM conference as well, because he will already be in the neck of the woods for the CAMA meetings anyway, and he has indicated that it is a valuable thing to attend for
Great.
the municipality. Granted, we're enrolling in the right things.
Any other comments from council? Anything opposed to the situation?
So I guess my question was, and I'm not sure if I was talking with you about this or what, but do we need a, do we make a one-off decision to send people on any particular year, or do we need some sort of policy that says we are gonna send this many people and this, or whatever, this often?
I think it would
How does
fall
that usually
under,
work?
I don't know, I think we discussed this in the past and it falls more under special meetings.
Because
I mean, if this can be considered a special meeting and travel, I don't see why not. It still have to go to council every time to have that discussion. It's just the way it is.
And I think that if it has to go to council, I agree, and I think that if it has to go to council every time, then I don't think the policy is necessary, because I think it's gonna be, contingent on the
Who wants to-
who wants to go, and whether anybody wants to go, whether, we have the finances to support it as well.
Yeah.
On any given year, we're in a better situation now than we have been, but, who knows?
Who's to say it won't be different 2 years?
Exactly.
Okay.
So,
And other communities have a policy that that a counselor is allowed to attend FCM once during the term type thing.
Mhm.
But some of the communities like Carmax are sending 2 people of their council to FCM, and I would really hate to throw water on their enthusiasm, but for what they get out of it, for the amount of money they spend for a community of 300 people, I honestly don't see the bang for the buck for them.
Well, that's why this conversation has to happen every time. It's just, it's always ever changing. And not only that, but there might be a counselor who is less involved and feels like they need to go to Ottawa. And that conversation has to be had too. So I don't think we should have just anybody want to go in.
so the other thing, I guess I was proposing is, as far as numbers, I thought that we should send 1 to 2 counselors and the CAO. And I don't know if you guys are in agreement with that or not.
Council?
Either one doesn't, either.
And, oh, sorry,
I didn't.
I didn't mean to interrupt, I apologize.
But you did. No comment?
I-
Can we use the credit card points? For things like that.
There's no points.
There's points on one of those cards.
Well, there
It's
is.
on the Visa statement.
Oh. Interesting.
Sorry.
I asked about that in the past.
Well, this is the new card we just got.
So
New card we just got. Oh.
I'm just saying, if possible, I can use some of the travel.
Well, I don't know why, I
burden.
don't know why you wouldn't. Okay. Okay, I would be more inclined to send 1 council and the CAO, but if there's someone very eager to go and they feel like that would be an asset, then sure. That would be my personal opinion.
Cam, do you know how far in advance they post the, agenda?
Usually it's up by now, and we talked about that also on Friday at the CEO meeting. That we're all a little confused as to why FCM has nothing up on their website.
Okay,
Um,
maybe we could ask our rep to,
well, he's in Ottawa right now.
exactly, maybe he could ask some questions.
So I think you guys figure that out. Maybe 1, if there's 2, then you just have to have a motion to spend the money to go.
Yeah, your worship, you guys have already approved my airfare already, so. I'm gonna be down there anyways, it's just a matter of my hotel rooms and registration. So,
Okay.
So, okay, so they don't have anything up yet, so honestly, we can't even enroll for that now.
Yeah,
Okay, so do we just wait for that?
I just think we should just to see what they're offering and what
If
the.
it's even worthwhile.
Well, or just, yeah, like if it's worthwhile for 1 person, maybe 2 people, depending on what's.
Yeah.
Offered.
Yeah,
And the price.
okay,
Okay. Good. You're good. January committee of the whole postponed from the 3rd to the 10th.
I have no problem with that, but my question on that is, do we have 2 meetings in a row, or do we also postpone the regular meeting to the 24th?
I think 2 in a row. It's January.
Yeah,
How do you feel about that?
to me, it's gonna be just a rollover stuff anyways, because January 3rd, we're not gonna have anything ready in between the meetings, right?
Okay,
I'm personally off on the 21st. Until 2nd,
okay,
so.
It makes no difference.
For that meeting, so. And I guarantee that the rollover to the next week is gonna be minimal, right? Because it's gonna be payables, it's gonna be. We do have a presentation on the 10th from Cryo Peak. And I can't remember, there's a few things that we've been putting on there already. But both those agendas are gonna be very light. Can talk about that.
Good. Don't need a motion for that. We'll just roll it over.
There should be.
I'll make a motion to postpone the January 3rd committee of the whole meeting to January 10th,
I'll second it.
2023.
Councillor Hancher and Councillor Paquette, all in favor? Right, carried. DDC Artwork, Dayudana Artwork Partnership. I've talked to Harlan several times about this, and I think it is a great opportunity for us to work with the Dayudana Council. They're looking to contribute as far as cost goes. And spoke with CAO Lockwood a couple times about it, and suggested a couple locations for that mural to go within our rec center. One of them being in the rec center, the main hall. Right as you walk in the door to the left. So kind of where the coat racks are before you get to the bar, it's a big long wall there. That's empty and could use some love. We're not making decisions, so we're just having a conversation about things.
I mean, yeah, okay, good idea. The other place that I was noticing has a big empty white wall is in the curling ice. All the walls in there are very white and all of the, I mean, I think previously those spaces used to be safer advertisements, but all the, even like the quit smoking posters are taken down, so I don't know. I mean, it's quite bare in there, but just another idea. But I'm not opposed to the rec center either,
Well, I know that Harlan was kind of,
where it's more visible.
yeah, well, it's more regularly viewed, you know, it's more common area.
What about the outside of the building?
I don't know how you do that with the corrugated metal, it'd be pretty tough.
Other communities, your worship, are doing it. They're actually putting mounting signboard on top.
Like what they do at elementary school.
Yeah, same thing. It's a actual mounts on top. And I tend to agree with Councillor Hanchar. The outside of the building could use some love from being corrugated green
Mhm.
siding. Other communities, there's some really good examples of other communities where they've done that.
Cost goes up.
Well, it definitely does go up, that's for sure. But and there might be funding streams available. That's something we haven't looked into yet.
Okay.
Because we weren't sure where council was going, but if there is funding streams available. As part of the community beautification type stuff,
Great.
it might be in it. And maybe there's one that's Casca and the next one is something to do with the Alaska Highway Bill, right? It's historical stuff to help with those type things.
I mean, I feel like I know we've discussed some artists and if, you know, there's people, the cost is gonna go up, you know, based on the one that we were kind of talking about. You could also do one inside and outside.
Yeah.
And you can maybe get two different people, or, you know, I don't know if the technique changes for, you know, outdoor versus indoor or whatever, or like the size of it or whatever, but I do love the idea of doing it outside, I think.
Great.
It looks pretty good at the elementary school and the students help do that one.
Hmm.
And
So, okay, well, that's good. I would just, can you
Direct us to
look for some funding, please?
Please check it.
Find some funding and I will get back to Deputy Chief Schilling and tell him that we are very interested in this process and that if he could, you know, maybe approach some artists and more than one.
yeah, see, that's what I
Yeah.
like too, is that like.
We want, you know, if we can have something outside and something inside, then we will. Especially if we can find the funding.
Well, and your worship too, it depends on the dollar amount, because then it falls into if we're paying for it, it falls into our procurement policies.
Yeah.
So it would have to be open to Yeah.
This was,
Proposals.
so I was actually gonna bring this up. I'll leave it to Councillor Open Forum, but I have a comment with regards to that. Same thing. But that's great. So everybody is kind of in favor in that, and we'll start looking for some funding to support that initiative. Great. Wonderful. Thank you. Number 13. Provisional O and M budget. Questions, comments, concerns?
Would you like to speak to where we're at currently?
Sure, that'd be great.
Okay, so currently, we're projecting for the provisional to roll over to give us operating authority into 2023. Our revenue side is currently at 5,840,131 projected, and our expense side is currently at 5,581,160, which would put us with a surplus of 582,971, which would be will show up as an expense line going over to the capital budget expenses. So we would have a balanced budget going forward. And that is with a 0% tax increase forecast in the budget rates.
Great.
Love surplus,
Mhm.
obviously.
Mhm. Many things that have been factored into that being increased wages,
Yes,
inflation,
I appreciate that has been factored in.
many of the missing staff or staff positions, couple new staff positions being budgeted for. Including, well, couple, and most of them being filled, including our fire chief position, your management, fully staffed to an extent.
And your worship, in there, the two new positions would be rec programmer and another receptionist at recreation. And then I'm sure the question will come up about what is council doing to put money into reserves? And just for the record, council has a policy that the reserves will be funded based on audited surpluses, which we get in May.
And last year we contributed to 3 different reserves. It's $144,000
Each, that's correct.
Okay,
And this budget this year does not require us, obviously, to use any funds from any of our reserves.
That's correct.
so if there's no other comments at this time, we'll still have to do a reading for it on our next regular.
And this will go to public meeting in January.
Yeah, no,
Right.
this is just the provisional, so this is a motion at the next meeting to give me authority to run the municipality into the new year. And then council will have the actual O&M budget, which will be pretty well identical to this one. And the capital budget, which will come forward for first and second reading, and then for public hearing.
Thank you.
And I think, your worship, you were looking at probably beginning of March for your public hearing, right?
Yes. So we can do a couple of readings in January. Discussing in February, open forum in March, third and final end of March.
That's correct.
Okay. Councilor open forum. Councilor Cat.
Ready, thank
Okay.
you. My comments already.
Okay.
So this is actually going back to the fees and charges bylaw. I'm sorry, I didn't say this earlier, but I'm not sure if I'm missing a page, but there's no Northern Light Center, drop-in fees on here.
Hmm.
And the reason why I just noticed that is because we must have talked about this at some point, but I made a note about NLC admission fees.
Yes.
Mm.
that's
We're
correct.
talking about that. Anyway, I see that the rental for the whole facility is here, but the drop-in fees don't appear to be on this thing, so that should get added. We can look at it. That's all I have to say about that right now. Whether or not we should increase those, I don't know. I think that's a discussion for later, but we already covered a few of these things. AYC AGM Planning Committee. I think that, I know that it's, the planning of the AGM is largely gonna be AYC staff and Town of Watson Lake administration, but I think that we also need to make a small committee of us and or others to assist with that.
How many people do you think? And mostly council or?
What do you think, Cam?
Well, I think it would be nice if there is events like in Haynes Junction. They did Amazing Race Haynes Junction or scavenger hunts in other communities and stuff. So I think it would be really nice, maybe if the council would take on like that kind of event. We do host the community dinner on Saturday night, which is usually steak barbecue, and the firefighters would be the ones that would be doing the barbecuing and stuff, but it would be really nice if council would take on organizing and setting up of that event, like not the community event. So it's to, you know, really, that event is really to showcase our community.
Mhm.
So that's where Haynes Junction was kind of, their thing was kind of neat, but there's different twists that can be put on that.
Yeah.
But I think it's whatever council could work on to really showcase our community based on if it's not like not a scavenger, yeah, like a scavenger hunt type scenario to show.
So I guess what I agree with you, all those things, but we need some organizational to make that happen, because otherwise it's all gonna fall on one person or whatever, and just need to like plan it out really well. So I guess as far as like a committee, I feel like we need, whether that's a couple of counselors, a Tiffany, I don't know, a couple of key people from the community. I can think of a couple of people who would probably be really good at maybe either coming up with those games or whatever, that are good at planning events. I think it would be nice to reach out to a couple of those people and just have a very small like subcommittee or whatever, just so that we can make sure that, make a plan and then act on it and just get it done. You know, without being rushy at the last minute, because that's,
Mhm.
you know,
It's-
I want it to be great.
At the
I want it to be
rate
excellent.
the clock is ticking, May
Yeah.
will be here before we know it, and Aaron. Had some really good suggestions when we were supposed to host it during your last term.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, she's another one of those people that is very good for
Mhm.
community
Planning.
planning, right?
So do we need,
Could you?
like, is that something we can do kind of informally on the side, or is it something we need to be,
No, it's an informal thing that. well,
so we don't need to be like, this is a council committee, whatever?
No.
Okay,
I think informally, Lauren, you should create a committee.
all right.
Create a committee and ask for some commitment from people and have some answers as to who those people will be in January.
Okay, because I understand that you guys will take care of the actual like content, AGM content, it's just
And
like the fun, awesome stuff.
Around town.
Yeah,
yes, and we're like, between my staff, we will be dealing with the host dinner and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And other arrangements, because part of the AGM is socializing and stuff, and as you know, we don't have a licensed liquor establishment unless you have a membership to go to. So we will be acquiring a liquor permit and probably hosting that at the Northern Light Center, because of the fact that it's central and the Northern Light Center isn't open for the year at the time. So that way we can have that hosted, a place where all the other communities can come, drop in, have a drink and socialize and in a controlled environment.
Okay. Sounds great.
great.
So you'll work on a committee? for it?
Yes, I'll work on that.
Okay.
My next thing is. So as you all know, from the media and word of mouth, we had somebody lose their pet to a trap of some sort within the municipal boundaries. I'm not getting into the details of who is at fault or whatever, that's irrelevant. What I would like to see from the municipality is some sort of educational campaign, just outlining where those traps are within the municipal boundaries. Just, I mean, I don't know where they are. I don't know if you guys know where they are. I think that trapping is obviously a lifestyle for a lot of people around here, and I'm not saying anything about that. But I think the reality is that people are using the same areas for a lot of different purposes. And if there is the chance that something like this could potentially happen or happen again, I think it would be nice to just say, hey, just so you know, if you live here, this is where these things are set up, just so you can stay clear of there. Because whether or not there's signage, I don't know, obviously, I don't know if it was clear, I don't know the situation, but I just think on our end, I think to be a little bit proactive and put out something like that. And I want to know what you guys think about that. That's my opinion.
My comment to that would be, I agree, except for, you can't tell everybody where every single trap is. For a couple of reasons.
Yeah.
There's a lot of work that goes into placing those traps without being noticed. And if people figure out where those traps are, then they'll be set off, they'll be acknowledged, they just won't work.
Okay.
So the trap line should be very highlighted and very well acknowledged. And the area that it's happening in can be acknowledged. But if you start trying to tell everybody where each individual trap is, it's not.
I guess it wasn't really,
Yeah.
I don't know that that's what I meant by that, but I agree with you. I just guess just a little bit of awareness.
Yeah.
Like for someone like myself or whoever, that also uses the trails, just to know where those things are.
I would even take it a step farther and by saying that, one of those lines is McDonald line. It's one of the oldest lines in the area.
Mhm.
And I think that if there was some history piece around it, it could be put to work for history and acknowledgement of where that is. So yes, I think an education piece is needed as
Yeah,
well.
and I'm not sure what that looks like, but I just.
Yeah.
Think.
We could work on that a little bit.
And truthfully, your worship, if council even wanted, there could be a letter directed to environment asking that they do an educational blitz on social media at the start of trapping season
Mhm.
to say that. And maybe there could even be a requirement in municipal boundaries that trapline trails or have a sign that's maybe a certain dimension even compared to the triangle that's this
Or
big.
somebody can make sure that it's not like in the trees.
And they know that that's what it is, like, they didn't know that that triangle meant a trap line.
Well, I guess I would just ask administration to look into some options, what would be feasible for some acknowledgement with municipal boundaries. And if you could reach out to the Department of Environment for an education blitz. And not only just this year, as an annual.
Every year,
Yeah.
annual, but I would be in agreement with that.
So we can draft a letter.
Yeah.
For your worship to sign,
Okay. Motion for that,
please.
motion.
Time is there not, with the trapping laws, you can't have a trap so close,
Within.
right? Like it's within,
1 kilometer of residence.
oh, okay, that's good to know.
So do you have a motion for that letter to the Department of Environment?
I would like to make a motion to direct administration to write a letter to the Department of Environment, asking them to please put out an annual blitz regarding
Trapping.
active trapping areas within the municipal boundary.
Thank you, Councilor Hanchar. Thank you, Councilor Paquette. All in favor? Carried.
That's all for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Hanchar. I'll just circle back to the concerns about procurement and the artwork and etc. I really think that we should consider a line within our O&M budget for intergovernmental relations. And put in there a budget amount of $20,000. That can be used for intergovernmental relations,
Can you please
whatever.
elaborate on what that exactly means?
Yeah, I was gonna say that.
Well, this is an intergovernmental relation. Trying to work together to create some form of unified work.
Okay,
This artwork is an example of that. And if that is there every year, can encourage us to use that money
okay.
for or
We
not.
should have
They're
some guidelines.
So where would that be? So like which, the administration?
Administration.
Yeah, that would, so if you're, yeah, so it would be another budget line. Under administration in the O and M. Budget, which would be council intergovernmental relation.
Intergovernmental.
Would we put guidelines on that? Like what that could be used for?
You can put a policy
If you wanted a policy, yes, you could come up with a policy.
based on what that looks like or what that should be. I don't know if there's anything like that that exists, but I think that it'll give us some flexibility to work with whoever government wise we need to. I think that there's really my intention is that local government.
That's right.
So it's not meant for YG, it's not meant for federal, it's not, it's meant for smaller local government.
Yeah, so sorry, just, I apologize, my attention was away for a second. You said a policy outlining what that funds are allowed to be used for. Do we have policies for other states and stuff like that? Like, I guess as we talk about every now and again, I think about like down the road when none of us are here and then
Some clarity on what that looks like.
just, I mean,
Administration.
even I don't know, I hope they would know.
Yeah, I mean,
okay.
it's pretty clear to me, but
Okay.
if you want to name it something else.
I don't know.
that's Fine.
Yeah, okay.
No, but I think when you're putting money attached to something, there should be guidelines with it. You know what I mean? When you have,
Well, I mean, everything in the budget doesn't have something attached to it.
no, I know, but I mean, I think financially, when you have things, most things are gonna have. What that money can be used for, because when you say in governmental, that could mean anything. It's a big term.
Suggestion, see.
Well, I really want to think about that one
Sure.
because of the fact that if council decides not to do something that year,
Yeah.
then I need the freedom of spending that money somewhere else in
Sure.
in the O and M budget. We want to have a policy that hems it in, that money just sits there and it's.
Well, it's gonna be-
budget line, right?
Yeah, it's still, yes, okay, fine.
Right, because you do have there is other lines in the O and M budget already for council expenses, so maybe it's something that we can, instead of having it its own line, it can be added into one of your other council admin lines or anyways, I'd like some time to think about that.
Absolutely, 100%. That'd be great.
I'm not against it. I just,
I want something in there and within our budget that shows that we want to work with our local governments and that we have the ability to do so without, constraint. Because it is difficult sometimes for council to say, you know what, I would like to spend $5,000 on a mural because, and it's, and should be able to use our descriptions. Okay. What else did I have? A lot of scribbles. Gallery open forum.
oh,
Is
yeah.
there a question online?
Did you guys have anything
The
for?
other thing I had was.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's
Yeah.
all right. It's all right. Just because I know like Golden Light Center funding, we got all that money. We have to use it, like, is there any, like, sort of any update to it,
Everything's on order.
Okay, and then the other thing was I just, I was there when they were moving the house from the rec center, like, well. Anyway, I just don't know if it got fixed, but the visitor center. Like highway sign that's sort of in our lot. Like the metal sign there, it got almost like plowed out. I was like waiting and watching it happen, so. And so it got pulled out a lot and sort of twisted. So I don't know, I just.
Okay,
I was gonna mention.
I didn't know that, so I will reach out to highways.
Yeah, I'm just not sure if it got fixed or.
Because bylaw did levy a fine for illegal moving of the building without a permit.
So it was quite a show.
I have one thing about that house as well that was moved. I don't know if it's still there, but last time I checked, it's sitting on a lot behind the ambulance thing, and I think that we should watch because that's not zoned for that. Is it?
The which one, sorry?
That white house is sitting there. So I don't know what the intent is with that.
Oh, bylaws been dealing with it,
Okay.
and they have levied a fine. And they've been they've been very well informed that there needs to be permitting before it's moved again.
Yeah, okay, yeah, the sign it did get twisted pretty bad, so just so you know, it looked like a newer sign.
Right here, so there you go.
Okay,
Okay, now I'm done.
can I move to gallery open forum? Whose meeting is this anyways, Ruth? She didn't have anything.
Just one question. How many, you
I want to say
200?
100. You think 200?
I don't know. I think it was 100. We had a pretty
100?
good turnout at the last one we were at.
Because it's government, all the politicians usually, everybody from all the communities, plus some of their staff, so.
I bet you Dawson City was 200.
So
And it's-
we can get back to you on that, but
no, it's just so I got.
There's-
it's quite a few, so it's a pretty big event, yeah.
And, so, when I had, MP Hanley come for a ride. The roads are terrible, and I understand you've got this whole stage thing going, but did stage 1 get done?
It's next year.
Hmm,
But it was supposed to be done this summer.
yes,
Not this
There
year.
was a small job that was supposed to be done,
On
Tintina.
Tintina Way.
but it didn't go
but it
ahead.
didn't go, was it because YG didn't get the tender out though, was that the case?
Well, the tender went out, it just, the prices came back in 40% higher than estimated.
So we are having things happen next year though. No matter what.
Well, it's going out for tender. And so if the tenders come in reasonable, then I guess, yes.
Because it's really getting bad. Okay, and. Oh, and just hearing that there's zero tax increase, it sounds like that's.
We didn't say that for sure yet.
Now.
Projected.
It's as gospel to me, right? And I don't know if you have heard, but we're.
Oh,
Be a change for our community and it too. because, no good change, so. And then we just issue our business.
I didn't see Caesar Lake out for sale on the agenda, but I would like to say congratulations. You know, I know it's been a lifetime that you've been in our community and you will be missed. I know that it's gotta be tough, so, and thank you for everything that you've done in our community and continue to do in our community, and don't ever leave. Thank you.
Thank you.
Janice, there's no questions.
Janice has no questions. Miss Patty, Mike, sorry, go ahead.
Actually, I just want to stay to the end and, actually, this thing, this was my very first neighbor here back in 2000. So I figured to talk about your council procedures with, whether you get emails or complaints or thoughts from, I do this every day.
Mm,
When I come into work, and I'm sure Cam can attest to it. And it's not like you guys are having, when we handle it in-house, if we get any type of phone call or phone message, complaint call, we document it, because if it's not documented. Right, so the way I can relate it for my line of work for you guys at council is a lot of the community calls the back line. Because they know the back line now instead of calling quad 5 or 911, and then we have Danielle who writes notes. It doesn't really CYA. So everything that has to do with any type of follow-up, we just create a task, and even if it's just a matter of, hey, I've received your complaint, what's going on, then that initial task is checked, and then your reply will be whatever needs to be done. I was just kind of listening, I was just wanting to hang until the end, and this is what I do every single morning when I go to work. I check my queue, see what needs to be dealt with right away. Some stuff might need to be, okay, the tow truck's on the way, whatever it may be. Or it could be, great, I have an investigator that's gonna get back to you later today. But it's that initial then it makes people feel that they're being.
And that's, we do have a system for if it's complaint driven. The girls have a check sheet when they do in, and if it's bylaw, that sheet goes to bylaw creates a file.
Yeah.
And goes through the system. It's these letter incidents that come to council.
Yeah, it's also the text, personal text, the small, the things that are coming to us individually. And, not consistently. So
Yeah,
that has
and-
to be,
Again, if it's not documented, it can happen, right? Because it could be, she said, whatever it may be. That's why, I mean, I don't give out my cell phone number. Harlan makes a big deal out of it down to the BDC and stuff like that, but if you need to get a hold of me, you email me or you call through, because that's stuff.
Yeah.
The texting, I feel sorry for you guys, but.
we have different lines of work.
Yeah, a little bit different.
Phone numbers can't have my number. But I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you. Ms. Patty McLeod, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. I have no questions.
Okay. Merry Christmas.
Thank you.
All right. Last item.
Oh, but she said I have some questions. I was waiting for it. I'm like, okay, well, let's hear it.
No questions.
Okay.
Said. That's it. Adjournment?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
All in favor? Thank you.